As a trader, do you find yourself making the same mistakes over and over again? You know you shouldn't do it, but you still do it, and you get even more annoyed, and then it triggers off a bad cycle of poor trading. You can probably relate to the Chimp Paradox. It's a great book. Lots of people at the elite levels have used it to improve their performance. British cycling, England football team, which their performance is debatable, England rugby team, Ronnie O'Sullivan. We got Nigel Richards in the next episode of Common Trader Problems. He's used the Chimp Paradox methods to change his life beyond recognition. I really believe lots of traders can benefit from utilising the lessons from this book. If you're interested, have a watch. Right guys, evening. This is my good friend Nigel. I know some of you were involved in the call we had about 6-7 months ago. Nigel's now had some experience with working with traders as well, so I thought it'd be good to get some insights from him. But let's start off just by, Nigel, if you can just talk about how you came across the Chimp Paradox and what it's done for you really in your life.
Certainly, Rich. It'd be an absolute pleasure. Yeah, I came across the book after going to a self-development seminar back in 2012. It was one of those American ones down in London. Some friends encouraged me to go there. I didn't think it was for me, but I quite enjoyed it when I got there. But the biggest takeaway was that a man wrote on the board, thoughts lead to feelings, lead to actions, lead to results. He wrote that on the first day. And I stayed there for 3 days and got up to all sorts of antics, like having an arrow in my throat and breaking it with my throat and standing on a table playing air guitar and just being totally uninhibited and basically about brainwashed, really. But why I took that sentence that they wrote on the board and I took that back home, back up here to Wrexham with me. And I took a bit of action on that. I went through to Waterstones and I thought, it really made sense there. So if you do change your thoughts, then you do get different feelings, take different actions, get different results. And it was a pivotal moment in my life, really. And then, so I went to Waterstones and I asked them for the best book on thinking. And they handed me the Chimp Paradox. I leant up against the shelf in Waterstones, read it, absolutely resonated with me straight away. And I'm on my fourth copy now. That's the fourth one. I just wear them out. That is the original one. There's a new one out now called Pathway Through the Jungle, but I still think the original is the best. And then what it done for me, Rich, guys, it really taught me what was happening in my brain. I read it within a week and I read it again the second week. And then I approached the Chimp management team to see if they had any events, because I'm a bit of a visual kinesthetic sort of learner. That's my learning still. I read and it's okay, but I really need to actually see diagrams really, and actually maybe present it myself to actually understand it. So I went to the first ever Chimp Paradox course to the public. That was on December the 13th, 2012 in Wortley Hall in Yorkshire. And they taught me there about how the blood flows in your brain to different parts according to different scenarios of your daily life. As the information's coming in, what part of the brain it's going to, how that part of the brain processes it, and how it can take you over and basically control your life from that point if you're not sure what's happening. But once you understand what's happening within your brain, then it's easier to control the results that you get at the end. Now, the beauty of the Chimp Paradox model, if you go look at NLP and you look at various other things, they're all basically saying the same sort of thing, but all in different. So you have to find the model that really resonates with you. For me, it was definitely the Chimp Paradox. And the way that Steve Peters has done that is because he broke it down into just 3 parts. The whole neuroscience of the brain, he split it into 3 parts. And he done this after studying brain scans in Rampton High Security Hospital for 20 years and understanding the way the brain worked and what parts spoke to what part and how the blood flowed when certain situations were encountered. Then he learned how it worked. And when he was a senior lecturer in Hallam University in Sheffield, then he had to try to convey this information to his students. And he's a wonderful person. And he got really involved with his students. And he said, look, guys, we need to create a model where I can actually understand what's happening, but simplify it down for you. And then they'll say, we'll call this part the chimp. Should we say they call that part the chimp, and then the human, then the computer, and the stone of life, and gremlins and goblins. And he made all these little things up. But basically, just those 3 parts, the human, the chimp, and the computer. If you can understand how they operate within your brain, then it can change a vast amount of things in your life. And many people associate it with the British cycling team, because when Steve was the lecturer in Hallam University, then he used to go and spend some evenings in the velodrome watching them cycling. And then he started to work with a few of them, and then Chris Hoy was there at the time, and Chris had a very angry sort of chimp, so they said to go and see Steve Peters, and he seen the model straight away. He understood it as good as like what I did, and that's how then they smuggled Steve into the Beijing Olympics undercover, and he got Chris Hoy to break the Olympic record there, and then he worked with a few others, and then the biggest one was then Ronnie O'Sullivan, and he could see that Chimp was taking him over at the table, and he helped Ronnie get his 7th world title. And if you go onto Amazon and look at the reviews for the Chimp Paradox, then Ronnie's put a review on there saying that was the single most thing that changed him. So everybody really has thought, oh, it's for sports people. It's not, but I can tell you, it's for fat, middle-aged men like myself, because it changed everything in my life as well. It helped me expand my business. I was a single car driving school for 20 years until I read that. And this week I've just signed franchisee number 20 up. So I've got 20 cars out there now, and I'm going for 48.
You literally cannot drive around Wrexham without seeing one of Nigel's cars, honestly.
And it's also 3 mold now as well, right? Yeah. So that's one. I would change my business, and then I never run at all. I couldn't run from one lamppost to the next, and then I started running. Lost about 4 stone in weight, went from 19 to about 14 and a half. Run my first 10K, 5K, 10K, half marathon, metric marathon, and then I'd done the Lakeland 50 mile ultra marathon. I've done that twice now. And I'd done the Llangollen round last May. I slimmed down again. I got right down to about 15 stone this time. Done the Llangollen round, and I come 7th out of 250 on the 35 miles around Llangollen. So I was happy with that.
Yeah, that's what resonated with me when I first met you, Nigel, was just the ability to focus on something and push it through and do it and achieve it, and it was just something that you don't see in many people.
No.
So then when you advocate the Chimp Paradox being the single thing that give you that driving force and ability.
Yeah.
For me, it was like, I've got to look into this. It's there's got to be something in it, and that's when I read the book, and straight away, just reading through the book, there's so many things that relate to a trader, because trading should not be emotional whatsoever.
I know,
but we allow it, and it's got to be the chimp. It's the only way. It's the part of the brain, whether you want to refer to it as a chimp or not, it's a part of the brain, whether you like it or not, whatever you call it. It's a part of the brain that reacts to fight or flight. It's that bit of the brain that causes traders to become emotional and ruin their progress, because traders are not. The average person is not cut out to be a trader. That's a fact. The brain is not configured right to be a trader. And trading is easy if you can just follow a process and just take in the results and optimize. But not many people can do that. They just their mind just takes control, and they do things, they overthink things, underthink things, and they just generally make a mess of it to start with. So you actually have worked with a trader now, haven't you? And just want to go through some of the findings that you.
Yeah, it's interesting. I worked with a trader who had quite a strong chimp, and we so first of all we had to find out. You have to identify the chimp in action first. We have to see when it's in action, what it does, because the whole part of that brain has got its own little traits, and it's genetic. You inherit it in your mother's womb, so there's nothing you can do about it. You've got to live with it. But so first of all, you've got to try and manage it, and to see it in action and to understand its ways is the first critical part. Because if you can't do that, then you will struggle. But it is possible by reasoning, really. But just take, for example, my chimp was holding me back from expanding Nigel Rich's driving school. It was putting such stupid thoughts in my mind that I couldn't expand because I called it Nigel Rich's driving school. Those were the sort, but it was trying to keep me safe. It didn't want me to go out.
That's a good point though, because I've read that in business books before, that if your business is personal, it restricts your growth.
Yeah,
and you've obviously gone against the grain there, and ignored that advice and pushed through. And
I didn't actually, Rich. I didn't go against again. What I done, it's a method to control the chimp, Rich, and you've got to take it to court, and you've got to put it in the dock and prove the damn thing wrong.
Yeah.
That's what, and then install that within your computer, because maybe I'll show you a diagram in a minute of how the brain works, and that chimp, when it gets the information, Rich, it's coming straight in. It gets everything from your senses. It has to. It's our survival system. It's why the human race is where it's at now. It's a brilliant part of the brain. It's there to keep us safe. So it gets all that information immediately. And then it gives you the flight, or if it's a bleeding tiger jumping out of the tree or a car coming towards you in today's circumstances, then it'll just kick everything out of the way and get you out of the way. But for its reference, it always looks into the computer. So it's what's installed in that computer that then the chimp will have either put negative or positive thoughts to the human to react. And what I done, that's what was holding me back. So I went around the country and I found other driving schools who'd expanded under their own name. There's one most probably everybody's seen, which is Bill Plant, and he's got 700 cars in the UK, and it's just his own name. There's another one in Liverpool called Chris Kelly. He's got 120 cars under his own name. There's one in Devon called Kelvin White. He's got about 40 cars. And I just kept going around the country and talking to them and understanding that. And I thought, that's how I proved my chimp wrong.
Okay.
And then gradually I installed into the computer that if they could do it, I could do it.
Yeah.
So that's
good.
And that's how you've got to prove it wrong. So, like you say, Rich, I see on some of your posts sometimes that you're looking for levels or something, that I don't understand trading too good, but like you say, trade levels or whatever. So if you just stall in your mind, I only trade at this level, or when the currency reaches a certain level, that's what is sticking to that though, isn't it, Rich? But
that's the thing, and it's, for me, it's the most powerful way of trading. And whether people, but I know for a fact there's traders out there who are better than me, better than I'll ever be, and they might not even use levels, but I don't give a shit about them. I know that it works for me, and it works better than anything I've tried, and I know how to develop traders utilising levels so they can get the best out of themselves and become profitable. And it works, and there's the people that I've done one-to-one mentoring have excelled because they've taken what I preach and they've proved. But so my method of teaching isn't do this and this and then it'll work. That is the worst way, in my opinion. Don't just believe me. So I strip everything back and I get everybody to do the basics and data capture for a month or 2 months. Just trade levels, and then capture the data. So people come into the way I trade with their preconceived ideas from other strategies, which they've got a real bad idea of what a good trade is. So when they see a small, insignificant level, they think, well, that's not a good trade. That is something I would never have looked at in the past. But it is. But because of the way that it's ingrained in them by other people who teach without people gathering the evidence and backing it up, they just believe it. And they've taken it and they believe it. And I don't, it's just the human brain. It's just, if somebody appears to be really successful doing something, people just think, right, I'm going to do it exactly that way. So I don't go down that route. Like, I think that the way I'm teaching traders is revolutionary compared to everybody else in the market. Because I get people to just start with the basics and do it time and time again. And so you've got the evidence in front of you. That, like, let me read a message that one of the guys that I'm mentoring. I won't read his name, but this is his second or third week, and this is his response after his data collection this week. Interesting week. A lot of profit targets hit. It seems too good to be true. I was able to take about 10 trades, but that kept me a little emotionally attached. I've got loads of questions, looking forward to the call next week. So he can't believe the success rate of these insignificant points in the market, which I know are the places that the market moves from. So I'm making him a believer in himself and the methods.
Of course.
Because, people that come into my service as well are generally, they only come there because they've been trading for a while, and they've been struggling and they can't see a way forward.
Yeah.
But then I still see people reverting back to the ways that stop them from being successful.
Interesting. Yeah.
So it's got to be something.
It is, Rich.
there.
You're right, and you were just talking there. That you were in real flow there. That was, you were talking directly from your computer, then, Rich.
I love it.
Right.
I love it. Like, I don't even have to think. Yeah, it's a computer. It's
a computer. That the computer now. If we think of speeds, guys, an interesting thing there, because that's why Rich was in full flow there, and that was coming directly from his computer. The chimp wouldn't even get a look in there. He wouldn't even know what was going on around you, because you're just in the full flow. And that's when an athlete is in the zone, like that. Rich was in his zone then. He was talking about something he massively believes in. It was his values, his truths of life. Everything was coming out there. Because that was, if we think of speeds, like the human part of the brain, this is us now. When this is where you want to be most of the time as a human. It's the slowest part of the brain, but it acts with what Rich was saying there on facts. It acts on figures. It acts on logic, and that's what it acts on. But it's very slow. It runs at ×1. The chimp runs at ×5. If you think of like computer speed, so the chimp can easily overtake the human. It can easily overpower it. And the human wouldn't even get a look in. And then there's a computer, and that runs at ×20. So once you're talking about your beliefs and what you believe in and your truths of life, and a thing called the life force, which is something you can do within the Chimp Paradox, when you're talking from that runs at ×20. And the chimp wouldn't even get a look in. Does not even get one chance, because the computer, whilst it isn't the fastest part of your brain, because the chimp is the fastest part, that's the protection method, but the computer is the powerhouse. It's an absolute powerhouse. But the only unfortunate thing for the whole human race is when we're born, the computer is empty, but it's programmed by the human and the chimp.
Okay.
That's the thing that gets wrong. That's really the difficult. That's the problem, you see, Rich. And like you said, like it's interesting there when you said you get a trader, somebody who's never been traded before, you'd find them easy to trade. It's just like when I rocked up in Gary House. I don't know if you've seen him on Instagram, but he lives just up by Rich, just in between me and you, doesn't he, Rich? He's a running trainer. I rocked up at his running class. I must have looked the right proud. Do you know that? I was like 19 stone. I had tracksuit bottoms. I hadn't had a pair of trainers for 20 years. And he shit himself, I think, when I walked down the path. But 2 years on, he run the Lakeland 100 mile when I done the 50 mile, and we run miles and miles together. And like he said, I was the easiest person ever to teach to run because I had not got a clue. I hadn't got a clue.
Yeah.
And he just taught me the stance. He taught me to keep upright. He taught me to lean back 5 degrees, my foot fall under my head, never use my quads, always use my hamstrings. And how the hell can an obese man of nearly 50 years old who's never done any physical exercise in his life run the freaking 50 mile ultramarathon? And I've done it twice. And it's crazy.
You know, it's very, very interesting point there, Nigel, because I put a post on social media last week, which is leading into something that I'm going to do some work on next week. And I asked, so bear in mind that trading is counterintuitive. Whatever whatever somebody who is not an experienced and successful trader thinks is wrong. It's completely ass about face. Whatever they think is wrong. The whole trading world is counterintuitive to what a non-trader believes and thinks.
I see, yeah.
So what I asked on social media was, do you believe that a trader has to go through pain to get to become successful? And I think it was 85% said yes. Absolute bollocks. You don't have to go through pain to become a trader. If you don't know anything and you just follow the process that I set out, collect the data, optimize, learn the good practices, there's never any pain.
No,
it's just a simple process.
Yeah.
The financial markets aren't energized. They don't send the energy to you to put you through pain. No. You do that with bad practices that you've picked up. I guess your computer has been taught.
Yeah, that's right.
So there's no reason to feel pain to be a trader. Like exactly that you just said when you started to run. There's no reason to go through pain for you because you just followed a professional process that was laid out for you.
It was. Yeah, exactly right, Rich. You're right.
But
And
I was
I think
amazed.
we touched on it last time, Rich, when we had a chat. There's other things in that computer as well. There's things called gremlins and goblins, and they're little unhelpful thought processes that are installed in there. And as much as I'm supposed to be a Chimp Paradox expert, never remember which one was supposed to be the harder. I think the gremlin is the hardest to remove, and a goblin is quite easy to remove. But they're little ingrained habits within there, installed within your computer, Rich. And like I've got one that was installed in my computer, the gremlin. I can't get rid of it ever because I won't make phone calls. Because when we first had a phone installed in my mum's house, she used to scream and shout every time it rang. It was one of those big old white things with the dial on the front back in the 70s. And every time it rang, she used to scream. So I always associated now making phone calls to people. I'm annoying people. I don't want to do that. I cause stress in people's lives. And I can't get rid of it. I just can't get rid of it. I won't make it. Texting was a revelation for me. I won't make phone. I still to this day won't make phone calls because that was ingrained. And then, but then there's somebody going into the trading, Rich. If they see in the social media posts of like you start with 50 quid, and you'll have a Lamborghini in 3 weeks. Do you know what I mean? And they go, and that's when the chimp is. So they're ingraining that into the computer, and then the chimp is looking at the trades going bad. And that's what then is looking into the computer, and it's unrealistic expectation, isn't it, Rich? Really?
Yeah, that's my favourite subject of trading. I've got the YouTube video there about unrealistic expectations. It's the destroyer of progress and dreams. I guess it ruins everything. There should be no expectations. When you're coming into something, you've got to just follow the process and have small, achievable goals that lead to bigger goals. Should be never put an expectation on anything, in my opinion. And it's and I always say somebody's success has absolutely zero bearing on your ability to achieve success or not.
No, you're right. Yeah,
and it's I say that to anybody who wants to be mentored by me in trading, that just because I've done all right from it doesn't mean that you're going to do all right from it.
No.
And just because anybody that sells a trading service online or a course or a strategy, just because they seem to be doing really well from that strategy, does not have any single meaning towards your ability to make that work for you. And it's something I really believe in with traders, and it's you've got to develop your own strategy, and that's the process I go through, because it's teaching the good skills and traits, and it's embedding them into the brain through the long process.
It is, Rich, yeah.
And that's why my mentoring lasts for 3 months to start with, and if traders want to extend that, they can do, but just 1 or 2 weeks or 1 or 2 calls is not enough.
No.
It's got to be months of doing the same.
Very interesting that you say that, Rich. I went to last September. Every Chimp Paradox course comes out, I'm on it. Steve Peters is like, oh God, he's here again. I said, yeah, fucking hell, mate. So I go on them all. I couldn't make the conference this year though, but I didn't. I'm going again. Anyway, last September I went and I sat on a table. Now there was a lad on the table next to me, and I changed his life on a podcast because he asked me to do his stone of life for him. Gary House, the runner. It was in COVID, and Gary said to me, Nigel, he said, I got this lad, he wants to get to the World Ironman finals, and he's doing a podcast, and he's invited me on it to talk about endurance running. And then he said, do you know anybody who can talk about mindset? So I put you forward. So this lad rung me, and I had a chat with him. He said, will you come on my podcast and talk about the Chimp Paradox? So I did, and so basically just like I'm talking to you now. So I did. I went on. We went off air after the podcast had finished, and he said, Nigel, would you take me through the Chimp Paradox process live on my podcast? And I said, yes, certainly. I got nothing. It's bloody COVID. I can't go out the house. Yeah, it'd be an absolute pleasure. So that's something for me to look forward to each week. And I done it over 4 weeks, and it was really raw. We really dug down. We got into his computer. We got his values. I posted the stuff that I used to him, and he set it out, brought it back. He justified it. We both ended up on tears. He's had to take the podcast down now, unfortunately, because it was just too distressed for him to leave it on there, because we found quite a thing that was holding him back. And I had a wonderful text off him last week to say that he got through to the World Ironman finals next year in Mali or wherever it is. So he's got there.
Wow.
And then anyway, at that table, he was sitting there, and this man who was sitting next to me, seen him come over, and he was shaking my hand and hugging me and saying, "You've done it, Nigel. You've done it. I've never done it." And then this man said, "What did you do for him?" I said, "So I'd done." I said, "Oh, he asked me to do his Stone of Life, so I done it for him." He's like, "Could you help me?" I said, "Go." So it turned out this old lad, he's from Weston-super-Mare. He's a successful restaurateur, and he's retired now. And he's taken up bowls. And his chimp is just wrecking him. He's quite a talented bowler, but his chimp's wrecking him every time he goes. And he wants to get through to the World All England finals. And I've just get my WhatsApp up now. I had a message off him yesterday, said, where is it now? Paul, he said, Nigel, I've just had to let you know I'm through to 2 finals and I'm still in 2 semi-finals, and they're all singles. I'm on the way.
Yeah.
But that, like you said, Rich, what the point I've gone off on one a bit there, but what I was getting at is that was November last year I started working with him. And he said, "This ain't working for me." I said, "Paul, you've got to give it time. Just every month I'll come on." And I haven't spoke to him now because my father's been quite poorly and I've been looking after my father for quite a lot lately. So I haven't spoke to him since May. But now we're starting to see the results of the work we done back in November and December through them winter months.
Yeah.
Learning his chimp, creating his Stone of Life. And now we're actually seeing it now. And that's what you were saying there, Rich. It doesn't happen straight away, does it?
No, you've got to go through the process and become a believer in it.
Yeah.
And there'll be times where you might think, "Oh, this isn't working, this is rubbish."
Mm-hmm.
But you've got to trust the process. And I'm quite lucky that the method that I use in trading, literally the first week or two, once I do this exercise, and I've done this exercise, Nigel, I've recorded me doing it every single day, and then recording the results, and everybody in the channel saw how successful the process was. So it's not a process where some days you think, "Oh, that's a bit crap." It's like almost every single day. It's giving positive results and reaffirming, giving positive energy and building structures that are good traits for traders to have, and it's just about building over time, and then you'll become the complete trader. But actually, at the end of the process, that exercise, that's nowhere near the way we actually trade.
No,
it's weird. It's just about learning about the fundamentals, and you could be taking, 5-6 trades a day, just while we're in this stage. But then at the end, it'll be sort of 2 or 3 a week, because going through this process, you learn what the best trades are, potentially the best and strongest setups.
Yeah.
So then you go through the process and you start eradicating all the ones that only offer small profits, because they're the ones that when something disturbs the market and causes risk flows, so people are moving their money around quickly to get into safer assets, causes market flows. And that is when all the trades that you have lined up for that day could just be smashed. They could just all be losses. So, but when the market's quiet, all of these trades work perfectly. So over the period of developing as a trader, you start cutting out the ones that are potentially destroyed by these market flow movements.
I see.
So you go from collecting all this data, which is brilliant, and then you think, I'm going to be absolutely loaded soon, because that's what everybody thinks that when they have a successful run. But then over time, you're just cutting out the crap, and you just become. So what you'll notice in that message that I read earlier from that guy, he said that he was really emotionally attached because he was taking so many trades. So this is the balance that you have to find. If you can become completely emotionless, you can trade like that all day, every day. But not many people that I know can do that successfully for a long period of time. So what we do is we ramp down the amount of trades and ramp up the emotional control until we find the perfect level over time. And then you know what your setups look like that you can take without being emotionally affected. And that's
it's just an interesting thing there, Rich. Is that level, when your hands went like that, is that level the same for everybody, or is it individualized to the person?
This is why a trading strategy does not work across the board for everybody.
I see.
Everybody has a different level. It's all about your risk appetite, your desires, the amount of time that you're allowed yourself to be on the screen, your lifestyle, your commitments. It's different for everybody. So the beauty of the process is that you'll find that, because you might go too far and then you'll realize, I'm having some problems here. So I say, well, you got to wind it back now and then you find that balance. And then it's the same with the risk management. Everything is worked out that way. You start off down here and then you ramp it up and then you ramp it down and then you find the right level.
I see.
And then you're in harmony. Your mentality and your trading strategy are both singing off the same hymn sheet, and you can then go forward and be successful in the markets.
Is that's why the chimp's happy then, because you've set the values in your computer and that's what you value. You know you trade well at this level, and if you're happy at that level, the chimp will stay in its box, Rich, all day long. Yeah, because the computer will keep it there because it's 20 times more powerful than the chimp, and it'll just say, listen, just shut up, because this is the level we're waiting for. Do you know what I mean there? Yeah. And that's what it'll do. But the interesting thing there, Rich, is like you said, it comes over time. That the chimp installs into its feelings or thoughts into the computer with emotion, but the human installs with logic. So logic takes more repetition. That the chimp will just bang, like you get bit by a dog when you're a kid. The chimp just goes boom. Every dog's going to bite you for the rest of your life. That's it. It's installed in there, so you're running away from dogs. But by repetition and logic going in, that's how the human installs in there. And if you can install those beliefs in there right, then the chimp won't get a look in. So if you only believe that you trade, it's very. I think we used that example again last time with that book called The Turtle Traders, Rich. You know, where them two traders hide that level floor, and one said traders were born, the other said they could be made. You know, and many of those couldn't take the losses. They wouldn't stay in for the amount of losses that went down. They just said, "Oh, buy paraffin at this level, sell at that level, buy coffee here, and sell it there, whatever." All the commodities. And that they couldn't take, all the ones just got out of it because they couldn't take the losses. But the ones who stuck with it made it through because they just believed in it. They were told, do that there and do that there. And they believed it and stuck with it.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So if anybody hasn't read the Turtle Traders, it's a great book to read, because I think I borrowed my copy to somebody. Never borrow a book to somebody because I can't remember who's at it. So I'll have to buy another one. So there's two traders, and one believes that you're born with the abilities to be a trader, and the other one says that it's it's nature versus nurture, and they found out that it's actually nurture. You're not born with it, because most people from all different walks of life actually went on to become world-renowned traders and rich from being in this process. So it just proves that if you've got not even the ability, if you've just got if you can just follow a process, you can achieve it. And it's the same with everything. It's running. It's the same with running. If you can follow the process, you will become faster and faster, and then your body composition will change, all because you're just following a process which somebody's laid out before you, who's been through that and learned the lessons. Yep,
you're right, Rich. Totally right. Just going back to the trader you said that I worked with, it's very strong chimp, and what was doing not so good at trades and they were running away with him, and his chimp was reacting, and he was basically almost smashing the computer up and things like that. But then, so what I had to do, I explained what was happening. I understood when the chimp was taking action and creating these things. So we dug deeper, and we created a stone of life for him, and we found out that why he was trading was because he wanted a better life for him and his children. But we found out that, and then he come on one day and he said he'd had a bad trade and everything had gone wrong, And what we found out was when he was trying to close the trade out, he was sitting in the family home in the living room, trying to close it out there. And now in that man's mind, the strongest values in life were to provide for his children. That's what he really wanted. That's why he was trading. He was trying to provide for his children. But when the chimp's getting the information for the outside. So he was sitting there in front of his computer there, looking at the trades, ready to trade out. And it was a late afternoon. And to the side of him were his kids asking him for time. Now, when the chimp was seeing all that information, the information of the kids was coming into his ears, his sight was seeing the trades, and then he was messing up all the trades because the chimp was forcing him to make a decision on his values, because his values, whether he should be spending time with his family. So that's why the chimp was messing the trades up, because it was trying to take him away from what his true values were. His true values were his kids.
Yeah.
So when you get a message from the chimp, you've got to look, what is the message? This is what I've learned recently from going to the Chimp Paradox courses with Steve Peters. He said, you've got to look at what the message is. Why is it sending you those emotions, those messages? Why is it doing it?
That's a very good point to bring up, because his children, I've been through this myself. When I get my focus taken away from what I need to do, I've made mistakes. So there's a whole video on distractions that I'm going to do on YouTube. And focus, the focus that you need to have when you're trading. And so his chimp was telling him to come away and spend time with his kids. But if he'd have actually just said, not now, I just need to deal with this, that is giving his kids the better future.
Yeah.
Not walking away from the computer right now. So all his chimp's intentions were correct. The way that he was going about it was wrong. He should have actually said, I'm really sorry. It's work time now. I just need to deal with this, because this is the thing that's going to give us everything we want in life. So a small bit of pain there, to his children for a little bit, but eventually they'll understand it, and their brains will program to understand the process as well.
You could do it, but that would take time, wouldn't it? Yeah, for them to understand at a young age. You know what I mean? Yeah, because they like dad, and that's his true value. So I said there's a couple of options here. You can either remove yourself to like a pod in the garden or something. You know what I mean? Where that is trading time, or trade out a different time of the day. You know, if that was what you needed to be. You know, could you trade a different currency so that you're trading out at 4 o'clock in the morning or whatever? Do you know what I mean, Raj? But that's what you've got to do, so that the chimp is not distracted, because the true values lay with his family.
Yeah, and this is the worst distraction ever for a trader.
Definitely. Yeah, I bet it is, Rich.
People moan at me all the time because I don't reply to messages, because I don't look at it. I have no notifications. Everything if I do see a notification, it's just gone, and then somebody will phone me saying, "Oh, I've sent you a message a few days ago." I'm like, "Oh, sorry, I didn't see it." But this is somebody else's agenda for your day. Yeah, that's what I call a phone, because they don't care what you're doing. They just want something from you.
Time thieves.
Yeah, so I don't look at it. It's when I need to be focused. That's it. No, I'm uncontactable. Yeah. I say to people, if you really, really need me, you got to phone me, because there's a chance that I'll see the phone light up.
That's interesting there, what you say there, Rich. There's another book I've read, and it might be a bit controversial what I'm going to say to some people, but it's another book. It's a wonderful book called 5 Lessons by Neville Goddard. I don't know whether you ever heard of it.
No, I'm writing it down now.
It's really in the old days. Neville Goddard was a terrific speaker back in the 40s and the 50s in London, and he used to go around and to give these speeches and fill auditoriums. And I just love his work. I really do enjoy it. And there's what in the 5 lessons. There's what, and I do apologize if there's any religious people on here, because you might get a little bit offended by this, but this is how it goes. He said, that the story of Jesus being crucified on the cross never happened. This is an absolute fallacy. It is just a story which was written down by the elders in the day because they could see that the human race was going too much the wrong way. And they tried to create this story that people would enjoy reading, but it was telling them how to lead their lives. And it's exactly what you said there, Rich, when you're focusing on something that you just don't want distractions, you're just not bothered about it. And he says I'm not a religious expert, so I really don't know about this, but when Barbarus, there was a thief, I think, wasn't it, or something like this, and there was Judas, the judge was saying, I've got Jesus in this hand and Barbarus in this hand. Please quote me if I'm wrong, but there's something like that. And basically the crowd were saying to Jesus to be crucified, and they freed Barbarus to the crowd. So that was basically the whole world telling you that you can't do something. You can't really do it. So then Jesus went and they crucified him on the cross. And then 3 days after he was resurrected. All that is telling you is if you want something in your life, don't listen to what everybody else has said. Just totally focus yourself on exactly what you want in life, and then you'll be resurrected as the person that you wanted to become.
Yeah, that makes
it's just
sense
a story.
to me.
Yeah. Total set. When I read that, Rich, I was like, oh, yeah, no. That is just like, it was working off the computer and everything there, because you're just totally focused, like you're knocking all these distractions off. You can't help but be successful because you're just focusing on the one thing. You're crucifying, you're nailing yourself to the computer screen to actually get what you want, and you will be resurrected. And that's the story. And it made so much sense to me when I read that in Neville Goddard's 5 Lessons.
Yeah. I'll have a look at that one. I'll get that.
Yeah, it's very good.
I'll have a read. I'll stick it on my reading list.
The other thing, Rich, in chapter 15 on the Chimp Paradox is something you mentioned earlier about, you said, breaking down into little achievable goals. And it's very important that Steve goes at step 1 on the cog of the planet of success. I'll just go reading it to you. It says you must understand the difference between a dream and a goal.
Yes.
Because the dream machine is very important distinction between dreams and goals. Do not move on until you understand the difference and you can identify your own dreams. A dream is something that you want to happen, but it's not fully under your control. The dream has outside influences, therefore you cannot guarantee that it will happen. It's just a wish.
Yes, agreed.
But a goal is something that you can set and achieve because you have full control over them. Goals increase the chances of dreams happening.
Yeah, 100%. That's
you really resonated when you said about small steps. That's exactly what it's saying, isn't it, Rich? Really.
Yeah. And it's the only way to operate in anything that you do, in my opinion. It's small, achievable steps.
It is, Rich.
And goals.
Small, achievable. Because if you said the dream, oh yeah, I want £1 million by this time next year, that is too big. So the chimp will start chucking every sort of shit there to stop you doing it because the chimp can't comprehend it. But if you set small goals to achieve that and they're under your control, that's how you get to the dream.
Yeah, and I always ask traders, like, why did you start trading? What's your reason behind that? And I always get the same ones. I want to quit my job. And get freedom. I want to look after my family better. Some people are open and they say, I just want, all the finer things in life, like the houses, the cars, everything. But then what I say is, but you're not even a trader yet. So how can you want that with something from something you can't do? Yeah. That's exactly the same as me saying that I'm going to play football now, Sunday League football, and what's your goals from football? Be a millionaire. Mate, you're playing Sunday League football in Wrexham.
Yeah.
But it sounds stupid. But to me, a person who's not a trader saying that sounds just as stupid. Yeah. But I
totally agree with you. Yeah.
That's everybody's opinion when they start trading. That they I want everything, but they're not prepared to go through that process, which I described earlier on.
Yeah.
No, that's probably unfair. They're not aware that there's a process to go through.
No, maybe so, yeah.
They're not aware that you have to go through these steps. And that's something I really need help with to try and get my message out there. With marketing and stuff, because that's not my forte. I just sit in front of the computer, doing what I'm good at. So eventually I need to get out there and say to people, there's a different way. There's a better way. A painless way. It might take longer, but taking longer to get somewhere than taking years of doing crap and going through pain, not seeing any progress. The beauty of the way I do things is there's a process, there's progress all the way. Every week we have calls. Some weeks a trader comes on and to a call and they say, "Well, I've had a bad week," but then we talk through everything, and then they go away and they capture the data, and then nearly all of the time, the next call, the bad week's forgotten. We realise why they had a bad week, and it's always not through the process that they should have been doing. They've deviated from the process because of outside interferences outside of the trading world. It's always the one thing that we nail down to be the reason that their trading performance has not been as good this week.
Yeah.
And
that's the good old chimp always looks outwards.
Yeah.
The chimp never looks inwards. It's always outwards. Why have they got that? Why I need that because they've got that. That's just the chimp. Totally. Everything the chimp never looks inwards, Rich. It's always looking outwards.
Yeah.
Always. Because it's a defense mechanism. That's what it is. It's got two purposes: to keep us safe and to produce the next generation. That's it.
Yeah. That's
all it's there for.
That's why I always ask the question, are you in a trading a chat group with other people? Because I see a problem that I had when I first started, that all the biggest losses that I had started off because I was influenced by somebody else. But then my brain wouldn't allow me to take the right action because it wasn't my fault, even though I took the trade. So then I'd try and fight the trade to get out of it because it's not me. I've not made this mistake. This is somebody else's shit trade, not mine. So I would then fight against the market, which is the worst thing you can do, and end up getting worse and tying myself in knots. But it wasn't my fault.
No.
But if I find my own trade and I've got my own plan, and if it doesn't work, then I've already accounted for that, so I can just move on.
Yeah.
And it's again, you're always looking outward to blame the first opportunity to try and blame someone else, even if you don't realise. Which for me, I didn't realise for a while until I really started looking at myself as a person. Yeah, because that's quite a big part to becoming successful in the markets.
I can imagine.
Is basically cutting all of your emotional, reactive side, learning how to deal with it. And what I say as well is I've not been to Tibet for 5 years to become a monk.
No,
I still have these emotions. I just now have ways of just thinking, right, I'm not dealing with this now. I'm taking the dog. I'm off. I'm not going to be on the computer because I know that this environment's not conducive to me producing good work.
Exactly, Rich. Yeah.
So I don't cut things out. I'm not a monk, like I said. You just have
and there's a wonderful little first exercise. If you read the Chimp Paradox, the first thing is called the NEAT exercise, NEAT. It's normal. It's going to happen every day to you. As soon as you wake up, there's a chimp that. As soon as you wake, there's a chimp that hits the snooze button. There's a chimp that pulls the sheets back over you to say that because it knows that you're safe there. It doesn't want you to go out into that big bad world. It'll hold you there as long as it can. Yeah. So that's first of all, expect that to happen, and then the E is expected to happen. So no, it's normal. Don't think you're abnormal. It's going to happen to everybody because it's built within us. We can't get rid of it. Expect it to happen, and then when it does happen, accept it's happened, and then just take care of it. Like go for a walk with a dog. Just remove yourself from that situation for a bit. That stops the blood flow. It's stopping the blood flow going to the chimp is the key to it. That was the first thing I learned when I went in 2012 to Wortley Hall. They said, you just got to pause. Just pause.
Yeah.
If you don't pause, the blood, there's only a one-way valve. Steve's witnessed it on these brain scans for years, and he can see that they weren't the nicest of people, the ones he was brain scanning. They had very strong chimps. It was Rampton High Security Hospital. So he was seeing that, and he could see that the blood was just hammering into that chimp, into that emotional defensive sort of system within us, and it's stopping that blood flow. It's just pause, just like you said, get up, walk the dog, Rich. That the blood flow would stop going to the chimp. Then the human would stand a chance. Remember, it's human runs at ×1 and the chimp's at ×5. Unless you just have some way of monitoring and controlling that blood flow for a couple of seconds to get some logic into there. That's what you've got to do. Just stop the blood flow.
I used to. So a lot of these things that when I was reading the Chimp Paradox, I actually implemented in my own life without being told by anybody or without realizing. Because my personality was leading me to places where I didn't really want to be in life and turning me into the person. I saw that I wasn't the person that I should be, really. I didn't like myself almost. I was a very reactive person. If something happened, I would instantly, I'd react straight away. It was only certain things. I won't give. Well, there was road rage a couple of times. I had some really bad incidents. I can laugh about them now.
Yeah.
But and it started to creep into other aspects of my life. So generally, I've always been the most laid back person in the world. Like so far laid back that my family and friends hate it. But there was some things in life where they would just get me to react straight away in an unpleasant way. And it was breathing that actually got me to start being able to control myself. So especially with the road rage, I implemented a tactic that whenever I was driving, I had to imagine that I was trying to help other road users get to where they need to be. So if somebody cut me up, I just start to breathe and think, he's obviously got somewhere that he needs to be desperately. He might have somebody ill in his car. Yeah. This is how I had to think.
That's it. Exactly right, mate.
Otherwise, I'd have pulled him over and dragged him out and it wouldn't have ended very well.
Yeah.
And it got to that a few times. So it was all about just breathing and how can I help this person get to where they need to be.
So that was delaying the blood flow from the chimp, you see. Because what's worse is somebody cut you up. They cut in front of you. So the chimp comes out. And then immediately the chimp takes your right foot to the gas and you go rammed up right behind it. And then he looks you see him look in his mirrors and then, maybe he is going, maybe he is, and then you calm down. And then he sticks his fingers up like that to you. And then the chimp, and then it's full rage battle and then it's all going like that, isn't it, Rich?
And I remember one incident quickly when I was by some shops and there was all cars parked on one side and I'd already gone and there's nothing coming, and then this old guy come round the corner and just stopped in the road and then he was like, and I had like 10 cars behind me. So instantly I was on one. I was out of the car. My wife was in the car and it really upset her. And this was the moment where I had to change my life, because I went round the car. I was horrible, and then even some passerbys were saying, "You can't say that. You can't say that to him." And then they were instantly in the firing line. So I was in the middle of the street, fighting about 6 people, arguing, and there was people in cars looking at me. And I looked at one guy, and I caught his eye, and he went like this, and looked away. And that was the moment I thought, "What am I? A fucking psychopath."
Right?
A fucking psychopath. So it was from that moment where I thought, I've got to do something about this. So I did.
That's just pure. You were in pure chimp there. That's the computer. Nothing could get a look in there. It's total blood flow to the chimp. That was.
Yeah, and it was like literally the whole street. I was taking on everybody.
Was you? Yeah.
Yeah. But this is it might just be a funny anecdote, and people will think, what the fuck's this got to do with trading? But
but it does.
It has got everything to do with trading.
Everything to do with trading.
Because if you take a crap trade and you don't want to take a loss, and then you think, because of the strategy that you have not mastered, you think, there's another trade here, I can take that as well, and then you add in trades, and it's the same behaviours, that reactive behaviour.
It is, Rich,
And it just needs to be cut out. Instead of add into a trade to try and get out of it, you need to just take a deep breath and think, right, now this trade I'm in wasn't in my plan, but I've ended up in it. Now, if I was developing a plan now, what would I do? And then sometimes it's just, I've just got to take a loss now and move on, because I shouldn't have been in that trade.
Mm-hmm.
So this small punishment now, I've got to take that. Because
Yeah.
if you start fighting it, that punishment becomes bigger and bigger and
Exactly.
bigger.
You're right, mate.
And it's all about just taking a step back,
Mm-hmm.
developing that plan, even though it's later than you should have had the plan,
Mm-hmm.
and then taking the right actions.
Yes.
And it's the same every single walk of life, every situation where people are reactive.
Mm-hmm.
Trading's the same thing. So if you're a reactive, emotional person, you're going to be the same. Your trading attributes are going to be the same.
Yeah. Yeah, Rich. So, and if you think about the model there, Rich, remember where the chimp is looking for its information. Obviously, if it's a life-threatening situation, it doesn't give a toss. It's just taking over and getting you to safety. But it's always looking into that computer. It's looking, and it's what's in that computer, Rich, will govern the way that the chimp sends the emotions to you.
Yeah.
So, and if there isn't anything in the computer, by the way, Rich, it'll just live by the laws of the jungle.
Yeah.
That's all it will do, because it's got no reference guide, does it, Rich?
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck about that. I'll sort you out. Don't worry. Go and kill the bastard. That's what it's saying.
Yeah.
Really, that's all it'll do to you. When I used to remember that Jeremy Kyle program, and then people on the bloody thing, whose kids here, and oh my god, they had nothing in the computers. There was no morals. There was no values. There was nothing there, was it? They were just living day to day, living on pure chimp, weren't they?
Yeah.
So you said this about me, and you said that, and oh dear God. There's nothing there, nothing in the computers at all. And that's what, if you haven't got, and the more you program your computer, the more you learn about your values in life, and the truths of life. Like I took some truths on my stone of life. I took off Steve Peters. Life's not fair, and the goalposts move.
Yeah.
Live by them two every day, mate. Just put them two on your stone of life every day. And what can go wrong? It can't, because life's not fair. Yeah, great. Life ain't fair.
No, it's not.
Never will be fair.
No.
And the goalposts move all the while. All the while the goalposts are moving for you. And it's just life just testing you all the while, just to see how much you really want something, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that the goalpost moving is a great way of describing the market flow situation as well. The trades, they work, but then when the market heats up and risk flows are occurring, the goalposts move. So then you've got to adapt your strategy slightly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And a lot of people, it's probably the hardest part of the strategy, knowing when the goalposts have moved.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you won't get that in a week or 2 weeks.
No.
And it is a question that I get asked quite a lot, and it's how can I see? And I sometimes I got frustrated in the past, because there's about 7 videos on the website that members have access to explaining this. But I shouldn't react like that, because it's new to people.
Yeah.
If they've watched the 7 videos and they still don't understand it, maybe that's my problem. Maybe that's my fault.
Yeah.
Because so what I do now is I just try and every now and again I'll make another video, and my computer just takes over, and I might say something different which I didn't say before in the previous 7 times, and a light bulb will hit.
Yeah.
And then they'll think, I've got it now.
Yes,
Why
sir.
didn't you just say that in the first place? And I'd be like, well, I didn't know that I needed to say that.
No, exactly, Richard.
And
everybody learns in different ways, doesn't you?
Yeah, and I'm learning that. So this whole service that I'm running I'm learning more than the people that I'm teaching.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So they're helping me become better to help them become better.
Yeah.
And it's I'm loving it. It's absolutely, it's brilliant.
Well done.
It keeps me on the straight and narrow. Let's say.
Super, mate. Super.
Yeah, it does. So, have you got? Yeah, what was the diagram that you wanted to?
Oh yeah, let me see if how do I share my screen, Rich?
There should be I think there's like a box with an arrow in the little buttons at the bottom.
Let's see.
An up arrow.
Oh yeah, yes. It's present now. Is that what it is?
Yeah,
that one. Yeah.
That's the one. Yeah.
Okay, let me just see if I can get it up on my screen. Oh dear God. It's there, but it's tiny. Let me just see. Here we go. Bloody Christ. Oh, there we are. I've lost you now, Richard.
Yeah, when you stop sharing the screen, I should come back, I think.
Okay. Am I sharing screen now or not?
No, I'm not seeing your screen now.
Okay. Let me see now. So I'm going to do it now. Share. Oh, I see.
I'm still not seeing
Yeah.
your screen.
Okay. Share. Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Okay, then, mate. So that's just I'm just doing like a little module thing. That's the book I read, and this is about the trio. As long as you understand, first thing to do with any of the chimp paradox is understand what's happening within your head. So this is just unveiling the trio that's happening within your head and how simple Steve has made it. And he's just made it there to those 3 steps. So if you just understand you've got a human, which is you, that's the slowest part of your brain. You've got a chimp, which is a powerful emotional center, and you've got the computer. And if you just think about those 3 things and those 3 things alone and understand at any one time which one is in control and which one is about to take over sometimes, then you'll see that your life will change drastically.
So just to interrupt, Nigel.
Yeah, go on, Rich. Yeah, please.
So these 3 parts, the human, the chimp, and the computer, they're actual physical parts of the brain.
They are, Rich. Yeah, the human is the frontal cortex, Rich. It's just above your eyes there. Yeah. The chimp is right. It's deep within your brain. There's a couple of parts called the amygdala and the hippocampus. They're all basically on the top of where your spinal cord enters the brain, Rich. So that's how it puts that gut feeling down into your stomach.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's there. But the computer is pretty spread a lot throughout the brain, Rich. So really, Steve's just simplified it down to call it the computer.
Okay.
And that is a lot of reference centers within the brain. Yeah. But the human is definitely the frontal cortex. And there's a part of the chimp in there as well. And then the other parts of the chimp are like really central to the brain. But they are actually parts, yeah.
Yeah, cool.
So once you understand which one is taking over or about to take over at any time, that can really help you manage your life in a lot more logical sort of way. And that's the human, that's you. It's logical and it needs facts and truths. It's just like you stating your levels, Rich. You know, if you can create levels what you know you trade at, and just it's just like me getting truths and facts that people can operate multi-car driving schools under their own name. That's what I done to convince the human part of it and to control the chimp. It likes reasoning. It likes to reason things out with proper, purposeful solutions. You have to work it out. It doesn't react quickly. It just reacts very slowly. It wants the evidence to be stacked up. It's just like trying to say something to somebody that you like, but it's a difficult thing to say. You like the person. You don't want to upset the person. So you think of a reasonable, logical way that you can back up with reasons before you say it. Yeah, whereas the chimp will just pile in and give them a load of shit straight away, wouldn't it? So that's the way I think of it as an example of the human. It's the ideal place. It's where you want to be really to live a successful, balanced life and get on with your troop, which is it's another aspect of the chimp really paradox, is the troop, the people around you. But as it says there in the bottom right, it is the slowest. It's the slowest reacting part of your brain. It's easily taken over and empowered by the chimp. It's very, very weak compared to the chimp. So this is your chimp. You meet your chimp. It's an emotional sheen within you, and you must remember, even though people find it hard to conceive, it is separate from you. It is a separate entity. It's not even you. It's just in there, and it gives you, it offers you thoughts. When I went to the Chimp Paradox Christmas conference last year, they give some air fresheners out, and I had it in my car all year until it run out. And it said, you always have a choice. You must never forget you have a choice. Because the chimp is only offering you those thoughts. You don't have to accept it. Mm. They're irrational thoughts. It just reacts. It's, as it says there, it was good for our ancestors in the jungle because we needed to know exactly what was around the corner within the bush and all the threats around us. But it can be a real hindrance in today's modern living because we don't need to be as aware for our safety. But nevertheless, in today's environment, the chimp can see something as standing up and doing a talk in front of people as a very threatening situation. That's why many people won't get up and do that. So it does think independently from you. It gives you gut instincts and pure raw emotion because it's trying to protect you. And it's looking in the computer, and whatever's in that computer it will try and get you to live by those values in there. With the trader I spoke about earlier was a good example. Get off the computer and spend time with the kids, because that's a greater value. And that's what the messages the chimp was firing into him, just to try to get him to leave the trading situation for the time that the kids were there. It's black and white thinking, by the way. It's never grey. There's no grey areas with a chimp. It's either black or it's white. Nothing can ever reason about. And it's a fast acting survival system. It is your fight, flight, freeze reaction. And it will just, as I say, if there is a man coming for you with a knife, or there's a car about to run you over, or a dog running at you, it'll blank the computer and the human out immediately. It's your defense system, and it'll do whatever it thinks necessary within that situation. And then we move on to the computer. This is the automatic reference. The computer part of your brain, if it's can program right, you can just let it run your life for you. If you really program it properly by creating a proper stone of life with your proper, sort your values out, get your truths of life on it. Life ain't fair. They're just mine, for example. You don't have to live by those. I pinched them off Steve Peters, by the way, so they were his, and that they really resonated with me. So I've created them on my stone of life. Everything becomes automatic. A great example is my profession, teaching people to drive. I see them go through the 4 stages. Unconsciously incompetent. They haven't got a clue how bad they are. Then they go to consciously incompetent. They realize how bad they are. Then they go to consciously competent. They realize they're getting it. And then the final stage is unconsciously competent, where they're just driving the car and they can hold the conversation. That is when we've ingrained all those programs of changing gear, checking the mirrors, signaling, and everything. It's automatic funk. That's when I know I've got somebody ready for the test.
Yeah, that's where traders need to get to.
Yeah. That's where they need to be, Rich.
And
automatic functioning.
When I'm sitting in front of the computer, and I say this all the time, that when these flows are occurring, and I'll say, I don't know what the opportunity is going to be yet, but I know if I sit here and I'm patient enough, the opportunity will present itself to me. So I can just sit here, relaxed, and then when the opportunity is there, I'll see it. But I don't even know what it's going to be.
Brilliant. No.
And I say that when you can get to that, and a lot of traders don't understand me when I say that, and I just say, you one day you will.
Yeah.
And it's difficult to I feel a bit like I'm not really giving them the right answer there, but it's the truth.
You are. Yeah. It's the same with people there. I say, you will be able to drive this car one day and hold the conversation. Oh my God, I'll never be able to do that. I can't even... don't even know how hard to press the brake or whatever, but it comes and it's only through the only way you can program the computer part, Rich, is by repetition. Definitely. Repetition.
Yeah, and that's why whenever we see these sort of scenarios happen, I do a full review and put them on the website so people can watch them and watch them, and then they think, God, this happens all the time. It does work.
Brilliant, Rich. That's exactly the way to do it, pal. Exactly. And I said that the unfortunate thing there is at birth the computer is empty, and then on it's programmed by the human, and unfortunately the chimp as well.
Yeah.
But the early life experiences are put into there. So that's why early life experiences are very important, and they do. But nevertheless, you can still change them, but it does take a little while. And it's a very powerful system. It runs at times 20. If you've got it right, then the chimp don't even get a look in. Like if you know that you're sitting there waiting, something's happening in the market, you're just waiting for that level, the chimp wouldn't even get a look in, does it, Rich? You just sit there now, don't you?
Yeah.
And you just wait for it. That's right.
Absolutely.
And that's how it works within you. The chimp gets all the information from your senses, your sight, your hearing, your sense, your taste, and all goes straight to the chimp. It has to. It never goes anywhere else. Everything that you see, hear, taste, touch, feel goes straight to the chimp. Then the chimp will follow the red arrow where it will look into the computer. If it senses its danger, obviously it just blanks everything out. It takes over. But if there's no immediate danger, it will then take that look into the computer. It will look for a reference if this situation has happened before, and it will come back. Steve's witnessed it on brain scans. I've seen it on brain scans, and it happens in a microsecond. It's just a literal flash, an electronic flash down the neurons of the brain. And an interesting thing, Rich, if we can just go back a step to repetition, when you're programming those neurons, right? When you keep thinking about, I'll just sit here until the market trades, I'll just sit here until, and that flow is going back into a long a neuron within your brain, and the more as it travels back into as every time that thought goes back into, or that feeling, it creates what they call a myelin sheath around the neurons. It insulates the neuron, that neurotic pathway that's being formed in your brain, and the more it's repeated, the thicker the myelin sheath gains on that, and the less chance the chimp can get in. And that's how it carries on. That's literally the neuroscience of it.
So that's how you ingrain the practices.
Yes, exactly, Rich. By repetition, but you thicken the myelin sheaths along that neural pathway. That's what you're doing.
Wow.
Just like when I went around the country and kept chatting to the driving schools which expanded on their own and looking at them do it and seeing the cars going around, and then that was it. The chimp didn't get a bloody look in. Then I was pulling everybody off the street, training them all to be driving instructors. And then the human will install as well, you see, and the human gets a bit of a look in if the chimp allows it. If the chimp, so that's where you go for your walk with the dog. That's where you break the sequence so that the human can start to get a bit of reasoning in there, But you need to stop the blood flow. And then basically then the chimp will then deliver you either the frustration or the happiness in life, That's what it does. But it does that by presenting you with emotions. And the word is there, emotion. It's trying to get you to take motion.
Yeah.
It's trying to put you into motion to do something. It's forcing you. It's nature's way of forcing you into making a decision. It makes you that uncomfortable that you have to make a decision. That's what it is. That's what it's trying to do. And it does that through releasing chemicals into your bloodstream and various other things, like the gut feeling within your stomach, that's what it's doing. It's making you make a decision, make a bloody decision and get it out of your way. And so that's how, and then when it creates that much pain that you have to make the decision, then it goes back in its box. It's happy then. There's the biggest action takeaways of that. Ensure you understand the model. Your highlights of the 3 parts of the brain. Understand, take a look at your life over the next 7 days. Write down what sort of feelings when the chimp has been in control, when you've provided some great examples this evening, actually, Rich, because you give us the example when you were talking about right off your computer when you're talking about the trades and how to take them, and you give the other example about how you lost it in the street with a chimp. There's 2 great examples of talking from the chimp.
I've without even realizing I make traders fill in a daily check sheet, and if you're watching this now and you don't fill in the daily check sheet, you must do it.
You ain't going to get those neural pathways reacting, guys.
Yeah,
never.
100%, and it's without even realizing or relating it to the Chimp Paradox. It's just when you said this, like, look at the next 7 days and write down your thoughts and feelings. I get traders to do that every single day, every morning before the market, and then at the end of the day, then what happened today? Is there anything that happened that made your trading, your performance worse? And then over time, we build up a picture of what, and it could be anything in the world, something that you don't even realize. But the only way to find out is by data capturing. It's important. Yeah.
You're doing exactly the right way, Rich. And always remember the chimp always has first score. There's nothing you can do about it. Chimp gets first dib every time. And understand that Steve Peters has created a simple mind model that anyone, including you, to understand what's happening in your mind, and you manage the process for better results. And it does work. And there's me with the man himself. So that was the day I met him. And met him, you understand. Identify your chimp in action. Learn what a chimp hijack. What is a chimp hijack? That's when the blood flow chimp totally takes over your life. There's 3 ways to manage the chimp, and the NEAT, as I mentioned earlier, is a great way of doing it. That's my little explanation of it.
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
Okay. Have I stopped sharing now? Am I back? I don't know where I am.
You're back now. Yeah.
I'm back now. There we are. That's it. There we are. So I hope that helped somebody in any way. I don't know if there's any questions, Rich. Or
we've had one. If anybody's got any more, you can just type into the chat now, and I'll read them out to Nigel. But
go for it.
So. Someone said, I have a question. Keep in mind, this is the first time that he's heard about the Chimp Paradox. He used to think that trading 1 or 2 hours per day and making more than minimum wage earner who works 9 to 5 was not fair. Around these times, I used to always find a way to give back profit to the market because I tried to trade more. I kind of overcame this problem by limiting my screen time. Is such a topic... Can this topic be explained by the Chimp Paradox as well?
Yeah, definitely credible. You've got a value there on your life, on your stone of life there, pal. you really, how can I say it could be I'm saying it could be on your stone of life there that a bit of like imposter syndrome or something like that. Do you understand what I mean? That you don't think it's right, that you should be doing it. There's some powerful thing there, pal, stopping you doing. That's very interesting. That, or it could be a gremlin there. Do you know what I mean? That
a lot of traders. A lot of traders I see in traders is they I can't remember what I was going to say. They believe that the harder they work and the longer they work, the more money they'll make.
I see.
Which is complete bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
So you've just got to follow a process. Mm-hmm. And if, today, for instance, things have been quiet on the market. I've not done anything today. Mm-hmm. But some people think, well, I've got to do something because I need to make money. Mm-hmm. But that's when you give money away.
Yeah.
It's really, counterintuitive.
Yeah.
Some weeks I don't really do much at all. Like, I'll hold my hands up there and say, but I just respond to the market. Yeah. When something presents itself, I take the appropriate action.
Good.
I don't sit there and try to work more and work harder because, it's a good principle to have. I don't think it's fair that people work 9 to 5 and I've just done an hour. It might be a good principle to have, but as a trader, it's a ruthless environment, and unfortunately, you've got to have that ruthless approach.
What that person would do that is stop that is if after they traded for that amount of time, that the maybe the extra money they earned after that time, if they give it to some sort of charity that supported people who are less fortunate themselves, then the chimp would see that as a great thing and let you carry on trading.
Yeah, even just doing something like that once or twice.
Yeah,
for me, it's something I've done in the past that.
Yeah,
and you don't have to.
Because that would be coming straight off the computer then, and that would just let you trade further, pal. Because there's obviously a concern for other people there somewhere on your stone of life, in my opinion, which is a great thing to have. Because that's my greatest. When I done my values, one of my greatest values is helping people. And as long as I'm doing that, I'm happy. That's why I'm here tonight.
Yeah.
As long as I do that.
Same here. Always. Like. So I do the whole thing. I don't. People ask me all the time, why do you do this? I don't do it for the money. I don't need the money from it. That's why I literally charge next to nothing for the whole service that I offer. But I do it because it gives me a routine that enables me to to stay on top of my trading. Purely selfish. But the rewards that I get from seeing people improve as traders is more than than any trade I've ever taken. I love it. It really gives me a buzz. So that
I bet. Well done.
Well done. That's
and then you're acting on your values there. You see, Rich. Again, that's the computer coming straight from your computer there.
Yeah.
Speaking out your values. That's super.
So Jay has asked, how would you suggest getting the most out of the buck? I'm 3/4 of the way through, and we'll go through all the exercises, but is there anything in particular you would do for him to get the most out of the buck?
The most out of the buck, Jay, and if I had my friend Mr. Steve Peters alongside me now, he's saying that it shouldn't be called the Chimp Paradox. The publishers made him call it the Chimp Paradox because that would sell better.
Oh, okay.
It should be called the Computer Paradox because the only action that will ever get you anywhere is working on your understanding how the chimp reacts is important, but programming your computer is the single most important thing, and that's come out of the man's mouth that I've sat next to him. That is the single most important thing. Study the parts on the computer. Obviously, you learn how the chimp works. The beginning part there, understand what's in the computer, how it works. Get your values. We used to go to the Chimp Paradox courses, and we used to get these lovely pack of value cards, but you don't get them anymore. Just get yourself. You can get them on Amazon. Go and get a sack of value cards and just work out what your values are. Try and get them down to a few, and understand that as long as you're acting on those values, then the chimp will just stay in its box. But work on the computer, Jay. That is the single most thing. Create a visual stone of life, something visual. Draw it out. That's what you have to do. So you can look at it every day. Make it physical. It's all right having it in your head. It's not good. It needs to be physical.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Like everything I do, that's why I've got a notebook next to me. If something goes into my head, it's useless. I've got to write it down.
Yeah.
It's imperative for me that I have to write things down. I have to see it there. Otherwise, I don't pay any attention to it.
No. You're right. Got to make a visual representation somewhere.
Yeah. Agree with that. So I'll just ask if anybody else has got any more questions. Before we just wait to see if anybody replies to that. Yeah, I think covered most of the stuff there, haven't we, Nigel?
Yeah, I think we got a bit more than what we did last time, didn't we, Rich? Really?
Yeah,
you know,
I think so.
Every time it goes a little bit deeper, a little bit better. You know, so I enjoy it. Thanks for offering me.
Yeah, it's good. I want to start maybe doing some events soon. Just social gatherings, nothing serious, but having a chat and getting guest speakers and stuff.
Let me know, Rich. It'd be a pleasure
for it. So I enjoy, being around the same people with similar mindsets.
Yeah, you're right.
Anybody who's on a quest of improvement, I'll sit and talk with for hours. Yeah, it doesn't matter what field they're in or industry.
No, you're right.
Someone said, is there anywhere we can follow Nigel? So you got a...
Only my YouTube, Rich, at the moment. I lost my Instagram page. I can't find it. I don't know. Since I signed up to that Threads, I don't know where the bloody hell it's gone. It's just got my driving school one. I don't want to lose that, so I'm not fucking about with things in case I lose the driving school one, you know? So, yeah, I got a YouTube channel, Nigel G. Richards, and I'd love to get over 100 subscribers, and I've got 93 at the moment, so go on.
Oh, yeah, we'll get you to 100 now, mate. I'll share the link now.
Is it there? I'm going to do some more. I've got some more videos planned. There I am. That's my most successful video, that top one. 2,000 views.
I'm subscribed.
Yeah.
Let me share.
Thank you very much. That'd be much appreciated. I've got a few more planned out lately, but my dad's been pretty bad lately, so I'm having to stay down there with him of an evening, and then I don't get back home till the next morning, and so that's I'm acting on my values, so I'm happy.
That's the thing, mate. You got to do what you got to do.
Only child, so
YouTube will always be there.
Yeah, it will, pal. You're right. Totally right.
Cool. So we'll get you over that 100 tonight, mate.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you very much.
You're on 96 now.
Thank you, guys. Thanks very much.
All right, I'll put this. This is going on YouTube as well, Nigel. So so hopefully you I'll put a link in the YouTube
super, Rich.
as well.
That'll be brilliant. That'll be excellent. Thank you, Rich.
Okay, right. Really appreciate you coming on, Nigel.
No pleasure.
Really
Thank you for asking.
And I'll see you soon.
Cheers, pal.
Thanks, mate.
See you soon, mate.
Cheers, bye.
Bye, bye.